Oh God, there's like that 5 second pause. Hey, everybody, welcome out to a Friday night cup of Ray after dark. I'm down here. If you don't already recognize the place, I'm down here at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill out here on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street, in the Edge District of St. Petersburg. I kind of nailed it that time. Happy Friday, Bucks fans. Do me a favor, share the show, and I'm going to try to share it here in a minute. But Bucks are 3-3. They're at 500, and worse yet, they're tied with the Falcons in the NFC South at 500, 3-3. In fact, I wasn't going to do this at the top of the show, but let's just go and talk about this. Talk about all your 3-3 teams. You got the Ravens, who the Buccaneers play next Thursday night. They're 3-3, 500. Of course, the Buccaneers are 3-3. You got the Bengals, the AFC champion from 2021 Bengals, 3-3. Of course, the Falcons, I already said, 3-3. The Seahawks are 3-3. Geno Smith working some magic with Pete Carroll. 49ers are 3-3. God. Now, that's not even fair now. That's not fair. Got a great band, the Broken Hearts out here, a Tom Petty cover band, playing some great tunes. Of course, right now he's playing sounds like they're playing a national anthem version, of course, that Jimi Hendrix so famously played at Woodstock. Get down here to first. Oh, finish the 500. It's the Dolphins at 500, 3-3, and the Patriots at 3-3. So those are your 500 teams. And I ask you, Buccaneer fans, confident going into 2021. Tom returns for his 23rd season, announces he comes out of retirement. Forget the 11 days off. Forget all the stuff that's going on. Are we still feeling good about this Buccaneers at 3-3? Of course, they lose last week in Pittsburgh. I'm going to call it Heinz Field. I don't care, Accenture, X, whatever the name of the place is. It's Heinz Field. They kind of played it. I want to say it was they weren't. I don't want to use the word underachieved. And we all took a lot of grief this week because this week a couple of people or somebody must have said that Byron Leftwich can't call offensive plays. These plays suck, or the Bucs didn't, whatever, they didn't run it. Here's the thing we got to remember when we go from 2021 to 2022. Forget about 2020. Forget about Super Bowl 55. Forget about the incredible story that was the 2020. Don't ever forget about it, right? The second championship of team history. But 2021, we had 3 Pro Bowlers on this offensive line. 3 Pro Bowlers, and Tristan Wirfs, Ryan Jensen, of course, Ali Marpet. This year, of course, Kappa goes to Cincinnati. Ali retires. We got the injury right off the bat with Jensen. What was it? Second hour of camp, which that's, and some of the rumors this week are maybe Ryan Jensen comes back in November. I would like to say, hey, where there's smoke, there's fire. Haven't got it confirmed yet. Do me a favor, share the show, but I'm going to get all these comments going on here. I want to know what you guys and girls think. How did you feel when the Bucs lost last week in Pittsburgh to go to 3-3? Let's go ahead and let's get rid of it, okay? You always say don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. That's twice I screwed that saying up this week. Down here at Ferg's World Famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill, I pull up. The place is crazy. The band, you can hear them 4 blocks either direction and bury the lead. You got a dispensary 2 blocks over and 1 block up on First Avenue North. And you can kind of get some of that scent in the air. But you got the Phillies, of course, or Phillies playing the Padres in the Major League Baseball playoffs. And the Lightning are playing the Florida Panthers. You tell me, guys, girls, where else can you go on a Friday night in the Berg and have a party like this going on? Don't stop now. I want him to finish that. Tom Petty cover band, and Broken Hearts playing. It's a Cup of Ray After Dark here on my own private Facebook page and my YouTube page. Please share the show. I need your comments. Welcome to the weekend. Bucks versus Panthers on Sunday. Let's get above 500. How y'all feeling tonight? Let me know on the other side. Hey, everybody, welcome back to the other side of my opening here on Cup of Ray. Let me get a couple of these comments up on here. Of course, people were commenting on my Facebook page. Haven't got any comments yet here in the StreamYard, but any questions, anything y'all want to talk about? How did you feel after the Bucks lose? God, I almost said it again. I want to say underappreciated game. Kind of a letdown game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. And coming out of that game, you know, saw Tom throwing him. And, do I even talk about the fact that he went to Robert Kraft's wedding? That's not like we've been talking about that like it's an excuse. Truth of the matter is, when you're winning, you can get away with a lot. And Lord knows, in his career, 22 years, now 23, Tom's done a lot of winning. He's done a lot of winning since he's come here to Tampa Bay. And just imagine, Buccaneer fans, where we were just 3 years ago in 2019, when 9-7 was basically a win, right? And, Jameis Winston, his 5th year, door number 2, we know that story. Kind of gotten a little coddled. Tampa Bay has kind of been great the last couple of years. In fact, it's been historic. But now the Bucs are 3-3. I love what Kyle said in my, I think it was Kyle Yates. He said in the comments there. Of course, when it comes to the Bucs versus the Falcons, the Bucs own that tiebreaker, of course, because they beat the Falcons 21-15. Go back to that game. Go back to that call. Let me ask you guys, girls. Let me ask you about the game on Thursday night, since I'm just riffing here. Do you guys notice more than ever now these officials are controlling these games entirely? I hope you guys can hear me. It's really loud on here, but that's the party you get from down here at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. I kind of said it today. I teased it a little bit. I teased it because it kind of hit me like I hope you can hear me, because I'm getting ready to talk about, of course, the shakeup at 95.3 WDAE. Of course, back in the day, it was 620. It still is on the AM dial. And, of course, that's Tampa Bay's sports talk radio. And didn't hear anything about it until about a quarter of, and kind of started seeing some social media posts. There's really no reason to go into names or for any reason or why, but all of a sudden you saw a post that Beckles and Retcher, of course, that was the 3 to 7 show Monday through Friday there on WDA, was not going to be anymore. So you're like, what's going on? What's going to go on in that time slot? What's going to be on 3 to 7 every day, Monday through Friday? And, of course, before Pat and Aaron got off, Pat and Aaron, who've been locking it down from 12 to 3 Monday through Friday forever, Pat and Aaron, the Goon Squad, they make the announcement before they get off the air at 3, of course, because they were talking about they were going to kick it up to Colin Cowherd, but it really wasn't. Well, it was Colin Cowherd's show, but kick it up to Colin Cowherd this afternoon, for this afternoon only, because Monday they're going to a new format. And I'm kind of excited about it, but I wanted to know what you guys and girls thought about it. First of all, I've always liked Pat Aaron. They've been a Goon Squad in the middle of the day. This seems like it's my lunchtime drive. I've always been able to tune in and grab a little bit of sports talk. Didn't consider myself a Goon until more recently. And, of course, that was because the chosen one, Mr. Chris Mathis, the executive producer of the Pat and Aaron show, he joined him a few months back. It's been solid. Let me tell you, please, if you're not checking out the Chris Mathis podcast, do it. And I will tell you right now, go and check out from 2 weeks ago, or it was last week, Talk to Him Tuesdays. Of course, my wife Kathleen, big hiker, does the Appalachian Trail every year for a couple of weeks, and I drop her off, pick her up. I hate to admit it, I'm not that guy. I can't do the camping. Doesn't sound like Chris or Spencer can either. But check out the Chris Mathis podcast. But he joins Pat and Aaron's show a few months back, maybe 6 months, 5 months. It's been a while now, but it's been solid. Now it's a miss, can't miss, right? They announced this afternoon that Pat and Aaron are going to move to the morning time slot. That's fantastic because, Monday mornings, hopefully after this week's victory in North Carolina against the Panthers, the first thing I'm going to hear Monday morning is going to be Pat and Aaron talking about it. Really excited to hear about that. So that was the first piece of the puzzle. The second piece of the puzzle, because what's going to happen with Ian and Retcher? Jay Retcher and, of course, Ian Beckles, former Buccaneer. I've told this story so many times how just across tonight, Tropicana Field lit up so beautifully blue. Tristan and I were running down here after having dinner with my family up there. We did dinner at Lucky Dill up there in Palm Harbor. My cousin Candy, her husband Howard, my cousin Howard, and my cousin Christopher, and, of course, Griffin, my second. I call him my cousin. He's my kid. I wish he was my nephew. He's just the world's best. Had a great big family dinner. Tristan and I rushed down here because I'm like, I got to get down here on a Friday night. Got to get a little bit of love going out here. Still no comments, guys and girls. Don't be afraid. Maybe it's not allowing me to have it, so I'll just riff on this. Let me check my Facebook page because that does seem to have some social. But so we get off the interstate coming down, and Tropicana Field's lit up so beautifully blue. And Tristan's like, bless his heart, He's 14. He's like, oh, the Rays playing tonight? And I went, and he went, oh, that's right. They're not even in the playoffs. I said, yeah. But the reason why I bring that up is because, of course, back in the day, when the Lightning first started off at the fairgrounds, but then they moved before the Ice Palace was built, Omni Arena, the Lightning, they actually set up the ice and played over here at what was at the time. Of course, when it first opens, it's the Pinellas Suncoast Dome, but at that time it was a Thunderdome because both the Lightning and the Tampa Bay Storm played just across the street. And I used to run into Ian Beckles and Tony Mayberry. They were both offensive linemen at the time for the Buccaneers, both playing such Ian's such a Canadian, but used to run into him at all the games, Lightning games. They were so approachable. That's what I've always liked about Ian Beckles. Working it back to the whole what's happening with the Beckles and Retcher show there, that we were locking it down from 3 to 7 Monday through Friday on WDAE. Of course, Jay Retcher now is moving to the midday slot, and he'll be on from 12 to 3 with Zach Blobner. Rock solid. Okay, now we're talking. Now we got my boys Pat and Aaron leading off in the morning. Got Zach Blobner and, of course, Jay Retcher from noon to 3 after the Dan Patrick show that's on from 9 till 11. Okay. Not sure what's going on here. I figure Mike Mamola is doing a great job as the executive show director over there at WDAE. Then the other for shoe drops. I say other shoe drops because, come on, Ronnie Lane. I've known Ronnie Lane. He's been since Q105, since I was knee-high to a grasshopper. Love that cat. Still locking it down in a pre- and post-game show for your Buccaneers. I'm just going to say it out there. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. I am not a Tom Krasnicki guy. I never have been. I'm never going to be. I respect you. Whatever. Smoke your cigars. Do your shots. I've reached out to you. I'm not saying you have to be talking to me. Do your thing. I've never liked the way you ran your show. I didn't like the way I didn't feel like you guys were opening it up for people to take comments like I try to do here on Cup of Ray, which I can't get one damn comment in here. I hope you guys are having a good Friday night. I don't mean to go completely poo-poo on Tom. He's just not my style. I don't need the guy that tells me how stupid we are. I don't need someone to tell me or dictate to me how I don't know anything. Now, I don't mind if you want to listen to what I have to say and then you can tell me why I'm wrong, or tell me why you're more right than I am, or have your opinion. I'm just not the guy that wants to tune in. And so when I hear that that's the afternoon drive slot, I was like, I don't know. So I know I got the mornings locked up. I got Blobner and I got Retch at noon. Then I got Ronnie and Krasnicki there. Tom Krasnicki, of course, from 3 to 7. Then I see the other thing tonight, and this is what gives me pause for cause. It gives me hope. I'm not trying to throw anyone under the bus here. I'm just calling it like I am, a fan and a guy that's going to be working in radio real soon. I'm coming after you guys, and that is the fact that Chris Mathis, love this cat, love the Chris Mathis podcast, and of course, love what he's done since he was working with Aaron Jacobson and Pat Donovan there on the Pat and the Aaron and Pat, whatever. I'm kidding. I hope you guys don't get copyrighted because of the Tom Petty. They sound so great. Broken Hearts band. Of course, Tom would have been Tom Petty's birthday today. And also I saw somebody posted that, of course, this is the 50th anniversary of the passing of the Leonard Skinner band in that airplane crash there in Louisiana. Or was it Mississippi? And the two were so intertwined, of course, Tom Petty being from the Gainesville area, or was it Jacksonville? No, of course, because Jacksonville was for Leonard Skinner was from, and Gainesville was where Tom Petty was from. But then I hear that Chris Mathis, the executive producer of the Pat and Aaron show, is now going to be running on the afternoons with Ronnie and Ronnie Lane and Tom Krasnicki. And that was like the full round circle for me. I am not sure I know enough about radio. Of course, I know enough to run my big mouth, but I'm not sure I know enough to say who won, who lost. I love Pat and Aaron moving to mornings. Pat, I hope that doesn't mess with your social schedule, because I still love Pat's Places. I still love the time that you and your wife Heidi, the times that you guys get to have out and enjoy the Bay Area. It's kind of one of the things that makes us all feel like you're one of us and we're one of you, and makes us feel like goons, is the fact that you guys can have so much fun locally and you're locking it down. Not exactly sure why iHeart makes that move and why they're shifting all the shows around. But, of course, Monday morning, the new schedule format comes out. They're going to lock it down. I'm interested to see if things change. I'm interested to see what Pat and Aaron sound like at 7 o'clock in the morning. I'm interested to see if maybe Tom Krasnicki becomes a little more user-friendly in the afternoons, because here's the thing for that 3 to 7 drive slot, okay? You're going to have great interviews. You're the biggest game in town. You're the guys. You're WD and girls. You're the WDAE. You're the big bad WDAE, and I love it. 3 to 7, you have to be more user accessible, Kraz. You got to let people say their piece, and then you can be an asshole and not agree with them. But don't just come in there and say, you're stupid, you don't know anything. Let me tell you why. And I'm not saying you don't know your stuff or that you're not knowledgeable when it comes to sports. I think you are. What I'm saying is that we're the ones giving you the microphone. Now, don't get me wrong. You're the one feeding your family and doing the job. Excuse me. You're the one doing it, locking it down Monday through Friday. You got to be more user friendly in the afternoons. And I hope we get to see that with the scheduling change on Monday. That's all. I'll get off my soapbox. I just had to get that off my chest. Of course, in all this, the big question is I still haven't heard from or seen Ian Beckles. What happened? Of course, we know Ian's locking it down with his shop there over there on South McDill Avenue, the Kava shop. Locking it down over there. Former Buccaneer, but he's been in radio here. Of course, Ian goes all the way back with Ian Rock. Excuse me, I'm going to get a sip of my. Tonight's show is brought to you by Sunshine City Beer, so excuse me. But being a respectable guy that he is, he's not going to probably air that dirty laundry. I'm kind of hoping it was something where Ian decided he wanted to step away, spend a little more time with the fam. Got his finger in so many pies. Of course, the biggest loser in all this for me is the opening to that show. Of course, that was Shadcore from TRC and, of course, Vox, locking it down. Every day you look forward to that 3 o'clock start for Beckles and Rhett show and opening with that rhythm. Hopefully, maybe Night Train or Ronnie Lane and Tom Krasnicki can maybe reach out to TRC, maybe reach out to Rashad Harrell and just kind of say, hey, you made magic for the opening for Beckles and Rich. Maybe you could do something for us. Kind of keep, because let me tell you something here. That 3 to 7 slot, when every day when that show comes on, it was that smooth intro. It was that soul intro. And it kind of got you ready to kind of listen to and talk a little bit about sports. Hopefully they're going to be continuing to bring that to the afternoons. Now, I know there's a reason why these comments aren't coming in here, but that's okay. I'm going to keep locking it down. I kind of already alluded to the fact that because of the injuries this year, of course, Bucs win Super Bowl 55, but then last season we got 3 Pro Bowlers, 3 offensive linemen in the Pro Bowl. Never happened in the history of the Buccaneers. And then, of course, offensive line becomes the biggest issue this offseason. And we kind of knew that when Tom, back in 2020, when the pandemic was just starting, that Tom was talking about that checklist of places that he looked to play, Las Vegas, they don't want me. John Gruden says no. Miami, didn't want to get on the boat. Tampa Bay, we kind of knew one of the reasons why Tom looked here and he saw what Jason Light was doing with this team was, number one, we had stars at every position. We had probably the most talented, and we still do, although a little banged up so far in 2022, best receiving corps in the National Football League, but also had a pretty goddamn good offensive line. And, of course, I already talked about the injuries we took over this year. Last year, it was a secondary right off the bat. Chris Godwin real late in the season, but this year, right off the bat, it was the offensive line. And you kind of see that with a team. You kind of don't put that past Mike Tomlin to kind of get a Pittsburgh Steelers team motivated and be able to put the pressure on Tom. And we saw it last week. And the fact that Tom had flown in, missed that team charter, Tom's not going to learn anything at the walkthrough. They've been at camp since March. They did the OTAs. They did the camp all through July. Oh, yeah, Tom missed 11 of those days. I'm not trying to poop him on the goat. They weren't going to learn anything at the walkthroughs that day. But the national narrative, of course, the narrative is you don't make it to the walkthrough. You don't fly with the team. Has he earned that? I mean, I think that's been one of the biggest debates I've heard all across national media this week is, oh, well, he's earned that right. And, he came back and he's going through some stuff. Well, Tom, I got news for you, okay? Take it from me. I've never played a down in a National Football League, but I slept at a Holiday Inn. No, I'm kidding. But I got some real shit going on, too. Guess what, Tom? We all do. And we hope you can find work and work it all out, just like we have to work it all out. But I did say last week on my post-game show, as I'll say again here tonight, what we need to make sure is that Tom is completely into this season. Of course, he says this week, retirement's not in my future. Okay, but let's make sure we're not trying to miss any more team meetings or miss any flights because, I wish you guys could comment because they're not coming in. But you tell me when you heard that Tom missed that flight, Okay, I'm on. When Tom didn't fly with the team, raise your hand if you thought this, because I know I did. I didn't think it was the same situation, but the feeling I got as far as the way the rest of the team would feel, how would the teammates feel? Tom gets that, he's up on that pedestal. It's Tom Brady. He's on that pedestal, right? Misses the walkthrough, doesn't fly with the team to go to Robert Kraft's. What did Robert Kraft marry a 22-year? I'm kidding. Whatever. I'm not here to judge. Tom doesn't make that flight. My first thought is, wow, it kind of feels like, it almost feels like an Urban Meyer kind of situation, right? Now, Urban Meyer, of course, was coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. And, of course, he's in Ohio, and where he's from, he's got family, or his family's there because, of course, he was the coach at Ohio State. And he says he's not going to make the charter back to a struggling Jacksonville Jaguars team that was struggling really, really bad. You guys and girls don't need me to explain the whole story, but you remember, comes out that night, the pictures come out the next day that he's in a bar. He's got some lady. She's grinding on him. I'm going to do that. People are walking on the sidewalk going, what the hell? What kind of show is that? Kind of made me feel like the same way with the Urban Meyer situation as far as how a team might feel. Not that players don't appreciate, especially when he's going through that family stuff, or if it's a wife thing, because everybody's got those situations going on. But then now he's going to a wedding. Oh, now he's going to maybe go shoot a commercial, or maybe now he's working on that production company, even though he's already got that 10-year guaranteed contract with Fox to slide into the booth after this. Just got to make sure for the other 52 in the room right now, and the 16 on the practice squad, and the coaching staff of 29 or whatever it is this day, all the way from the general manager all the way through the the trainers. Just got to make sure we're locked and loaded, because we do have to deal with the injuries to those offensive linemen, right? Oh, JM says appreciate the feedback, Ray. I appreciate you, brother. I appreciate that you did that. I wasn't trying to go scorched earth. I'm just saying that if we're talking about WDA, right, locking it down, that there's so much talent there. Shifting it around is like, it's almost invigorating. It's almost like how we want to feel, how we want to see the Bucs play at Carolina on Sunday. By the way, join me on Sunday. I'm yelling over this band, but join me on Sunday. Got a special show, got a special guest. I'm not going to share it right now. It's my mom. No, I'm kidding. But no, I appreciate you, brother. But just like we want to see this, we got enough to deal with as far as the injuries to the offensive line. And then, is Julio Jones ever going to play again, or is he just the coach now? And, of course, Chris Godwin still rocking it. I think, man, if one thing I think we've all seen, we kind of already knew it, the reason why Chris got the franchise tag but then got the big contract, because of what he means over the middle and what he means to this team. But even as he struggled through the injuries, with first, of course, the injuries the knee last year, and then with the hamstring injuries this year, that kid is just nails, right? I mean, I've never seen a pass go his way that guy doesn't have a chance to catch. I've never seen him not fight for a ball. And that's how we see I see Winfield. I see the defense. I still say, of course, we talk about Akeem Hicks. I know I could go through the entire strum of things, but first of all, I won't, because I wanted to make a special announcement. I was going through Creative Loafing Tampa Bay. Of course, you all remember I won 2019 Creative Loafing Best Local Columnist. Thank you very much. It literally ended up being my dying claim to fame. But I saw this and I thought it was pretty interesting. Excuse me. Circle K gas stations in Florida will start selling weed legitimately. And I was like, what? And of course, no, it's as Bill and Ted once famously said, strange things are afoot at the Circle K. The global chain of gas stations and convenience. Now I'm going to go ahead and read this verbatim from Creative Loafing. I'm going to give a shout out to the author here. Hopefully it's on here. Oh yeah, Colin Wolfe from the Creative Loafing. The global chain of gas stations and convenience stores recently signed an exclusive deal with Chicago-based Green Thumb Industries, great name, right? Green Thumb, one of the largest cannabis producers in the United States, to sell marijuana from 10 of the Circle K's companies throughout Florida starting in 2023. Now, here's the key word. According to a statement, the Green Thumb, the company will lease space from Circle K locations for what is called Rise Express, which will have a separate entrance in an area in the store, right? But they'll be at 10 Circle K's throughout Florida. The products of these locations will be available to the roughly 700,000 Floridians who have medical marijuana cards and will come with Green Thumb's yet to be completed 28-acre cultivation facility in Ocala, which I'm going to go ahead and say this now. I'm glad I'm not still in high school. I think the statute of limitations have already ran out, but a dispensary in a Circle K? I mean, you talk about one-stop shopping. I mean, wow. I mean, you already can shop from home. You can already do the Instacart. You can already do all that stuff. And now you just have to go to anyway, I've talked enough about that. But go ahead, let me wax on this because the comments are still kind of slow coming in. I just wanted to say, we saw Robbie Anderson. We saw the wide receiver from the Carolina Panthers last week throw a fit on the sidelines, argue with his coach, and then he's sitting all by himself. And, of course, as he's going to the locker room, he throws interim head coach Steve Wilkes under the bus, if you will. And, of course, 3 days later, he's an Arizona Cardinal, and then you see him playing last night in that, thank goodness, Thursday Night Football. Thank goodness to Kirk Herbstreit, now Michaels, that they finally got a football game on Thursday night that wasn't the Colts. And it wasn't, there's been some stinkers, right? You look at the rest of the slate of these Thursday night games for this season, there's a couple as we get later in the season that teams may actually kind of give us a little bit more of a, excuse me for a second, since the comments are still coming in, give us a bit more of a game. But talk about wide receivers, not just this offseason as Devontae Adams leaves Green Bay and goes and joins Derek Carr. And you love that narrative because, of course, Derek Carr and Devontae played college together. Was it Fresno? I think it was Fresno. I'm not 100% sure on that. I used to know. And then you see the wide receivers changing teams this offseason. Of course, Odell Beckham is still on making his campus visits because he hasn't decided who he's going to go, who he's going to National Signing Day. All I'm saying is when Odell Beckham, when he finally does decide, and there's rumors, right? But when he finally does, and maybe by now he has decided, if he has, share it. I hope that cat is sitting at a table and he's got 4 or 5 team hats in front of him. And I hope he does the whole, I've decided I'm taking my talents to, and he puts the hat, even give us a half fake, OBJ. Pick the hat up and then put it back down and then pick another and then just throw one on real quick. And, I'm taking him here. I'm going to Tampa Bay because the Buccaneers only have 17 receivers on the squad and we want one more. But my point was, excuse me a minute. So my point was, with name, image, and likeness now, and it used to be a transfer portal, players used to have to, you go back 5 or 6, 7 years, and college students used to have to, they had to file a petition. They had to register, they had to get into the portal. They had to submit paperwork. And then unless there was extenuating circumstances, they had to wait an entire year to play, right? Nowadays, it's basically NFL free agency at the college level. And I say NFL free agency because if you take into account name, image, and likeness, along with it, God, this band sounds so good. I am going to get thrown off. I know it. But you take that name, image, and likeness in the transfer portal, and are we going to be shocked now that especially even a first, second, third-year receiver coming into this league, and it doesn't have to be just wide receivers, it can be any position, but are we going to be shocked when these players don't have that instantaneous or instant gratification or the instant success? Because they used to lock it down. You used to go to a college. You'd get through with your career. The cream always rose to the top. There were, again, extenuating circumstances for players to change teams. But at the end of the day, you'd get drafted. Then it became a profession. Then it was a job. Now I'm getting paid to do this. I'm playing for pay now. I'm playing football on Sundays. I get paid to do this. I'm a professional. And now it's like that line now has gone way beyond blurred, right? But with the name, image, and likeness and transfer portals, the fact is, for all intents and purposes, your colleges now are professional football, but it's almost like a B league or like a farm system, if you will, for the NFL. And it's ironic that I say that because we say that just as the USFL came back last year, and of course this spring it'll be the XFL with the Rock Johnson bringing the XFL back. So a lot of football, and of course I'll go ahead down that rabbit hole if I haven't bored y'all enough to death. I see a bunch of you still out there. I'll go down that rabbit hole and say that with legalized gambling, you could support another. Because here's the thing: as long as you've got people that are going to be willing to pay to pay to play, but pay to watch and pay to gamble on in-game gambling and parlays and second halves. And Kevin Hart's telling me how the They're doing second half parlays. I can get the underdog odds on for the favored team and stuff like that. Oh God, that smells so good. It's just the food here at Ferg's. World Famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill out here on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street in the Edge District of St. Petersburg. But with the name, image, and license transfer portal, we're going to start being shocked that this is going to be happening more and more. And here's the thing I pose to you guys and girls tonight here. How is that going to affect contracts moving forward? I mean, how are you going to bring a receiver? We already see the creativity with general managers and some of the contracts they're given, front end loaded. You take out, you got the option, the cancellation years on the back end, the big signing bonus, how much of it's guaranteed. Excuse me. But anymore, we're not even shocked that a wide receiver can get in a fight with a coach on a Sunday and then pout and throw a fit and go to the sideline. And then he's gone 3 days later because, of course, Carolina's kind of going through a fire sale. Big trade with Christian McCaffrey, of course, going to the 49ers. I think they got like a second, a third, a fourth, a fifth. A lot of draft capital for a Carolina Panthers team that some would pose Fitter, the general manager, kind of got a big job to do with rebuilding that team. And it just so happens the Buccaneers are going there on Sunday to play against a team that we should get out. It should be a get-right game for these Buccaneers. But that kind of sounds exactly like what we were talking about last Friday when the Bucs were going to Pittsburgh to play against a team that had not only no secondary. I think they had fans coming out of the stands to play in a secondary. No Minkah Fitzpatrick. You had Kenny Pickett, the rookie quarterback who had never thrown over 100 yards, never had over 100-yard game because it's his first start. Or was it his second? Mitch Trubisky comes in. A whole lot of things about that game, and I think the reason why most of us were, I'm not going to lie, I'm not mad at anybody. These guys, it's their job. I mean, all we can do is we can analyze, we can talk about, we can break it down. And as fans, we see exactly what went wrong. We see the pressure on Tom Brady. We see on 4th and 1. I don't know why I keep doing that. 4th and 1. The Bucs need 1 yard on 4th and 1. Give it to Lenny Fournette. Not a bad idea. The guy's a beast. The guy's literally a 2022 beast. But you're having trouble, at least the word is you're having trouble at left guard with Luke Goedeke, of course, the rookie. And, of course, you got Hainsey at center, and, of course, you got Donovan Smith there at left tackle. Rumor has it, or actually fact has it, that the left side is kind of where you're having a problem. It's kind of where the defenses are kind of putting a lot of their pressure there, and then Barry the lead, defensive coordinators, when they're putting the pressure here and you're running offense to try to fortify that area, then a good DC is going to attack you from another area. It's kind of the whole chess match of football. But on 4th and 1, you give it to Lenny Fournette, but you run a delay trap or a delay handoff to Lenny right behind Luke Goedeke. Now, I'm like, not only was I not shocked that Pittsburgh got into the backfield and tackled Fournette for a 3-yard loss. So there goes that, right? There goes that chance. But I'm kind of shocked, and this is where I'm not going to call anybody out, but I heard enough people tell me this week how it's not the play calling. This offense worked fine. Tom Brady was the king last year. Well, yeah, Tom Brady's been the king before. But it's that very play call, that delay behind area of your offensive line that supposedly is a problem, or running it on first down. Now, you did finally see, I'll give it to, even though, admit this, Bucs fans, it was strange to see this, but the Bucs run the pitch. They run the pitch, they throw it out, run the 28 pitch to Fournette to the right, and the 27 pitch to Fournette to the left. I would pose that when you go with the heavy package or inside package blocked, and they're expecting you to go straight up the middle there, that's when you also throw a pitch. Because you tell me, guys and girls, how many players in the NFL can you name off the top of your head, defensive players, that you think could go mano a mano against Leonard Fournette on a pitch and stop that cat from diving? Do you think Leonard Fournette could dive forward for 1 yard? Oh, hell yeah. So I'm not saying that these plays don't have chances of working, especially if you've got those 3 Pro Bowl offensive linemen that we don't currently have, but we're going to get one of them back hopefully here real soon, and it may refortify the depth of that offensive line, and you can start to run that
inspiring leftwich offense and keep defenses on their toes. But the truth of the matter is, when Tom can't hold the ball for more than 3 seconds, or he doesn't have enough faith in this offensive line that he's throwing the ball at the ground at receivers' feet and it's bouncing 20 feet in front of them, if you see that your starting quarterback doesn't have confidence, and then when passes do get to your wide receivers, that they're getting dropped because those wide receivers maybe didn't expect Tom to get it to them, you see how it starts to become a chain reaction. Bad feeds bad, feeds bad, just as good feeds good, feeds good. If you've got that going on and you can't adjust your offensive philosophy to work with what's working for you or to find something that is working for you, a team like Pittsburgh that you should sure as hell have beat last Sunday here in Pittsburgh, and a team just like this week against the Carolina Panthers, a team that's in complete disarray. Wilkes, the interim coach, was a defensive coordinator. Actually, he was the secondary coach and assistant coach. He wasn't actually the DC. Of course, he comes in there. He was the defensive coordinator with the Carolina Panthers previously. Interesting note, you may not have known this. Steve Wilkes took over in 2018 for the Arizona Cardinals when Bruce Arians left them and retired when he walks away. But Wilkes, of course, gained some credibility with my son Tristan because he played for 4 years as a defensive back at Appalachia State. And I know y'all who follow me know how much love my son Tristan has for Appalachia State. Got to go to a game when they played the Citadel earlier this year. Of course, they played there in Boone, North Carolina. We got a chance to visit the campus this last year when I was on vacation up there. I hope you guys, there's such a party going on in here. Let me see if I can get a score. Okay. So the Phillies are up 4-2 in the 8th inning. 7th inning, Phillies are up 4-2 over the Padres. And the Lightning game must be over because I don't see it anywhere. But we could go round and round if it's bad offensive play calling or just being called out of order. If it's just completely because in execution, you saw Russell Gage say it. You heard Tom Brady say it. We all have to execute. Well, here's the thing. I've heard teams with coaches that got fired. I've heard teams that went, 1-15 and got the first overall draft pick. I mean, one of the oldest excuses in the book is we have to execute. Yeah. Go back to John McKay when asked after a terrible game back in 77, what did you think about your offense's execution today? And of course, John McKay answers famously, say it, Johnny Dean. I'm all in favor of it. I mean, execution is one of the oldest. You have to, right? Because you can practice for 6 months. You can have a philosophy. You can have talent. You can have depth. You can have Pro Bowlers at every position on a team. If you don't execute, you're not going to have success. There's a lot of truth to that. But there's also truth to the fact that when you have a depleted offensive line and you got a receiving core that you can't get on the field together and you got a quarterback that missed 11 days in camp, that you got to, we're in week 6, but you're talking about a lot of that lockdown time when a team in 2020, when they were getting pushed up, they were getting raised. In 2021, they were running it back, and they still did a hell of a job considering how some teams, Los Angeles Rams, some teams, 3-3 Cincinnati Bengals, are doing. I'm not writing those teams off yet in 2022, but we see Super Bowl hangovers. We see what it means to be the last team standing and then try to run it back the next season. It's even though you play a month longer than 28 other teams or 26 other teams, and then you play you and one other team, the AFC opponent, play 1 week longer than any team, and you go to the Super Bowl, and you have I can't yell. You have the pomp and circumstance that is a Super Bowl week. It's. I mean, as a fan, tell me the Super Bowl 55 was right here in Tampa Bay, right? During a pandemic, which probably explains the reason why. But it was draining. I mean, as a fan, it's still to say it was draining, but you're so much celebrating, so much, your team's doing great, so many parties to go to. For me, it was so many pre and post game shows to do. I loved every second of it. It's draining. My point is that we saw the Bucs run it back in 2021, get to the divisional round of the playoffs, and of course they lose. Punk out. I said it the other day. I was kidding, but they lose to the Los Angeles Rams on a bullshit call by Sean Hockley. I could say that. It's after dark. It's 10-12. I could say bullshit. This year the NFL is refortifying. Of course, hats off to Tua. Of course, he's back in this week. Wishing that cat the best of luck. everybody's had that happen. Not like he did, but everybody's gotten. I know I've had concussions playing football. I had one where I was actually out. I remember I've told this story many times, but excuse me a second. Whenever someone walks by, I'm going to say, "Welcome to my beer drinking show tonight at Sunshine City." When I was playing quarterback, and it was a what's the word I'm looking for? It was a anyway, we ran a 22 dive. It was a game I got in. It was mop up duty, but I got it. So I had coach calls 22 dive. Running back in there, just like me. I was a backup. Running back was even further a backup. Little tiny kid, just a little kid. Probably ended up being the world's greatest running back or football player or baseball player. Coach calls a 22 dive. And I get down, I say hike. I turn around, and I hold the ball out. Now, he's supposed to be right here so I can put it right in the bread basket, right? Turn around, put the ball out. But I turn around. As I put the ball out, he's not there. I do a quick look, and all I see is this poor kid. He looks at me, and he's like, because the defense is coming in. Of course, they're still playing their first-string defense. They come rushing in. He looks at me, and it goes just like this. He literally said, I don't want the ball. He didn't play after that game. It was a jamboree. It's the reason why. It was like one game. He didn't come back out the next season. So what am I going to do? I have the ball. I get a live ball. So I pull it down. My big, clanky, slow butt runs around the outside. I go to try to get the corner, heading toward our sideline there at Dixie Holland's Rebels. And right at that point, the linebacker came in. So I kind of dove up to trying to avoid the hit. Takes my legs out from under me. I do a complete flip and land on my head. I know what a lot of you are thinking right now. That explains a lot. Screw you. Maybe. No, maybe I don't want to screw you. I'm saying maybe. And I was out. I was out cold. Landed right on my head. Here's the thing, talking about the Tua deal. Not to get too hard on chronic traumatic encephalopathy and not to try to get too medical here on a Friday night after I've had one too many beers. Actually, it's my first one. I also had one at dinner with the family. Is that I learned at that point, it wasn't so much the contact of the helmet, right? It wasn't the helmet to helmet. In my case, it was the way that my head hit and the way the force upon where my brainstem meets my spine. Because remember, basically, guys and girls, for kids out there that are watching this, first of all, you shouldn't have because I said bullshit earlier. But it's after 10. But hopefully you're not up watching this right now. So it's Saturday, and you still shouldn't have heard that. But it's also, remember, that's where all your wiring and everything runs from the top of your brainstem, from your control center, all the way down through your spine, and of course out to the rest of your body. How you doing, brother? That's where everything's communicating and all the wiring stuff going. And so that's where I took that hit. So it caused the disruption in there, and that's what put me out. I was out for like 30 seconds, came to, went to the sidelines, didn't do any smelling salts, came around. You guys know how I roll. But wishing Tua, of course, Tua comes out this week and he's talking about it, and they're tiptoeing around it. But, it's like Tua's back. And, of course, everybody wants to ask the question. We all saw it. It was a terrible thing. My point is, going back to last season, Tom doesn't get the hit when he gets the Aaron Donald helmet in the bottom of his chin. And I know I'm splitting hairs here because every game, ask Grady Jarrett about that wasn't a personal foul on a tackle on Tom Brady. And then was it Chris Jones? Was it Jones, the lineman for the Chiefs, tackles Derek Carr and puts one arm down. And I'm just going to go and throw my hat in on this. Here's what I'm thinking. I'm not here to accuse every NFL official of controlling games. I'm not here to blame anybody to be pulling a Donahue deal with the NBA, of course, the official that was involved in gambling and stuff like that. I'm not trying to make that narrative. I don't think it's fair. Our NFL officials, they're too respected. They do too good of a job. They take their job too seriously. I see too many times where I see a great defensive play that seems like it can be a game-changing play. And then all of a sudden, there's like kind of a half a tick second, there's a flag or there's a holding against the secondary. Last night, I wanted to say that too on that third down stop, but then I saw it. The guy actually tackled the wide receiver. God, I can't believe I'm losing his name. I forgot it today too. The wide receiver for the Cardinals. Oh, DeAndre Hopkins. By the way, Nuke Hopkins, what the hell is that all about? I mean, he's been DeAndre forever. And of course, he serves a 6-game suspension. And hats off to Nuke Hopkins. Um, he does the video. He does the splash video that he's coming back, which yeah, it's a game. You know, you got a lot of fans getting pumped up, and it's a home game. And we got you served a 6-game suspension for doing performance enhancing drugs. Or wait, what'd you say? It was maybe the type of banana you used in this shake, or something. You served a 6-game suspension because you had something in your system that the NFL deems illegal. We don't need a hype video when you're coming back celebrating your 6 games. I'm back. Guess what? Here I am. You didn't come off an injury. I mean, Chris Godwin missed. He goes out last season, comes back admirably. We wait for him. He didn't even have a splash video. We saw some of the video looking forward to some of his plays from last season, but you don't see a player like Chris Godwin do a splash video. I thought that was just kind of like, okay, DeAndre. My point is, going back to the PI or the personal foul, the last year, Tom takes the hit to the chin, right? So I can see where he misses it. And of course, Tom is like, it's like hockey, right? Because you get that in hockey where you get a foul called and then you wait to see if there's blood. And then if there's blood, it's not a 2-minute, it's a 4-minute, or it's a 4-minute major. Not all the time, but sometimes you see that. And it's almost like you felt last year when Tom doesn't get the call for personal foul on the hit when he takes the Aaron Donald helmet to the chin. And then Tom's like, and he's like, thinking it. But here's the thing. You could tell from the minute Aaron Donald went in, you could tell the helmet went up and into the face. If not the face mask, and it ended up making contact with the chin, no flag. I don't know. Maybe let him play. My point is, when I go back to the call against Ford, when I go back to the Grady Jarrett, when I go back to some of these penalties, I understand the people that have the narrative that say, no more reviews, no more instant replays because the game's already too long. I get it, but here's the thing, guys and girls. I love these commercials that say, hey, use our gambling app. We let you set limits. We let you say, and here's the thing when you hear these commercials, I'm going to walk up to you real quick. Isn't it almost like your wife or your mom or your dad? We let you say how much you can spend in a certain amount of time. We let you put limits on your gambling. We let you say where and when. And here's the thing about gambling. Because of the endorphin release, for some people, it's an addiction for a lot of people, but not all people. But the very nature of an app, the very nature of the 3 Manning boys, the father and Eli and Peyton, coming on a commercial and saying, if you have a problem, call this number. But this commercial is brought to you by Caesars. It's brought to you by Sportsbook. It's brought to you by DraftKings. It's like, I don't know, maybe everything in life these days is like a double standard. Like, hey, don't litter, but, use Keurig coffee cups. Save water, but take a 45-minute shower. Recycle everything, but don't do something like use filtered water. And I know I'm preaching all that. And maybe that's the same thing where we do a commercial and where the Manning boys, I say boys, the Manning boys all say, and it's a great commercial. I love Archie. I love Eli. I love Peyton. But they're like, if you have a problem, call this number. Okay. Maybe people, when they've gotten down or they've lost their house or they don't put food on their family's table or they don't have enough money to have a car or they lose their job, maybe that's when they call that number. I don't see people that all of a sudden you're like, oh, I'm on a bad run. Let me call this 800 number. I'm not winning this month. I haven't won this season. I'm not hitting my parlays. Let me call for help. Maybe when you call that number, maybe there is real dedicated staff ready to help you. I don't know. But my point is, going back to the reviews on the personal fouls, I understand the need to protect quarterbacks. Because you go back and look at Troy Aikman. Ends his career because of back and head injuries. And even Troy Aikman had some stupid comment a couple of weeks ago about the protecting of the quarterbacks. You look at Steve Young and that game that guy was out on the field for almost a minute and how bad that was. And then what happens to Tua Tagovailoa? Here's the thing. Quarterback drops back. He's in the pocket. He is still, while everyone else on that fucking field is running straight at him, and the defense has one thing they're trying to do. They're trying to kill him. And if they don't kill him, they're trying to make sure that even if he gets that pass off or he gets rid of that football, that he makes sure that he has a thought in his head that next time he's not going to want to try it that long. They want to hurt him. I get the protections for the quarterback because let's be honest, you got quarterbacks making $50 million a year. You got quarterbacks as your not anymore. There's some wide receivers on some teams that make more than their quarterbacks. My point is, it's the highest paid position, and it's the one that some teams have a Zappy. Some teams have a superstar coming in at backup. Not every team has a Kyle Trask ready to come off the bench. And I'm going to keep saying that tongue in cheek until he proves me right someday that he's actually going to be a great quarterback for your Buccaneers. Let them do the replays for the personal fouls, but let it be a coach's call. And you know what else I like about it is? Then when you have a play like last night, that Saints wide receiver who tiptoed down the sideline, and you, me, and your grandmother were all watching television, and we saw the green between his foot and the white line, and we know it was not only was it not going to get overturned, but here's the thing. How many games do we see now? Oh, my knees. How many games do we see now where a coach calls a replay, even though they know they don't have to get it, but they almost have to get it. They almost have to make that replay call, whether it's because they want to back their team up. Look, I know that guy didn't step out of bounds, but it's a 40-yard gain, and they'll have it first and goal. Challenge it. I know that we didn't stop them, but the crowd's going to boo. In fact, the crowds cheer when we challenge it because they're sure of it, and then they go through the replay. You got so many videos, so many feeds, so many replays that are instantaneous. We at home see it. We see – now, I'll be honest, there are some plays that you don't see it until they break it down like the Sabruta film, frame by frame by frame. But maybe if the coaches know that they might have to keep one of those replays in their back pocket for a Grady Jarrett who gets called for hitting Tom Brady on the final drive of the game that would have made the Bucs punt it back to the Falcons. And God, I'm scared to even say that. Imagine that. I still think the Bucs defense would have stopped the Falcons from scoring. I'm sorry, Marcus Mariota was not going to lead them on a 70-yard drive, but then we wouldn't have had the bullshit on Monday morning about how the Falcons had the game rustled away from them because of a crappy call. We won't hear about the other things. Let the coaches keep that one in their back pocket so that if their players call for a personal foul and they can look and they can see the guy put an arm down and didn't egregiously whip the quarterback down, but just tackled them, and it was because of the progress of the tackle, then a coach can challenge that. You tell me how you guys feel. Comments are ripping through here tonight. I hope you guys enjoy the show. I hope there's been enough. I hope you guys have heard enough of the music that I haven't gotten copyright. I'm going to go ahead and finish my beer real quick because I had one more thought I wanted to finish with before I get out of here. I keep looking up because, again, I want to thank the staff. Mark Ferguson, big anniversary coming up here. Big game, big Saturday college game day this weekend. And if you're not watching, they got, there's over 50, 70 televisions here at the World Famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill, right here on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street in the Edge District of St. Petersburg. They got every game on. Looks like the Phillies are going to win this game. It's still the seventh inning. That's a slow game. Excuse me. But it's a beautiful condominium right here. In fact, I've always liked it. It's right next to Ferg's here, but it's got a great view. You're only a couple of blocks off Beach Drive down there and of course, the pier. But they got all these lights in their window, and every time I come down here, they reconfigure the lights, so it's beautiful. Got their door slightly open. They can hear the Broken Hearts, the Tom Petty tribute band or cover band playing down here. And even if it's just to listen to some of the party going on down here or bury the lead when you got these northeasterly breeze coming, they can open those doors and smell delicious food. They got Ferg's voted once again best burgers or best wings of the Bay, best of the Bay by Creative Loafing. Or actually, I'm sorry, best sports bar. And of course, it's the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. So you guys and girls already knew that. TVs everywhere, but Saturday they got fights. They got, of course, you got the baseball playoffs going on. You got isn't it too early for hockey season? You got the NBA season. You got a game going on over here. I've always watched a Lightning game, watched a little bit of the Lightning Panthers game tonight. Don't really follow hockey much at all until like December, until it starts to really kind of get cold. But, last couple of years kind of been following the Buccaneers really well. And, of course, back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Lightning. But I really don't follow basketball, NBA basketball, until I never follow it. I don't care about NBA basketball. I mean, I get it. Um, but I don't get how a team like the Los Angeles Lakers with LeBron and how they got all these superstars and going into the season, it's like you already predict they're not going to, 84 game season, they're not going to win 40. Supposed to get pumped about that. I'm trying to remember back when it was, back when you had Magic Johnson and Larry Bird, and of course Robert Parrish, and before that, then along came Michael Jordan, and it took it. Or no, first you had Bill Laimbeer and the Pistons versus John Starks and Patrick Ewing and the New York Knicks. Then along came Michael Jordan out of North Carolina, becomes a Bull, and the Bulls start becoming a team. And I remember I'm just riffing on anything here tonight, but it's a couple right here after dark from down here at the world famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill. After that, you finally had Michael Jordan versus Magic Johnson, and that was a big thing when Michael Jordan finally overtakes the Detroit Pistons and gets to that pinnacle. And then maybe that's the reason as LeBron's getting ready to go take over, he's setting records and continues to, and he's going to set a record this year for all-time scoring. The LeBron Jordan debate. I'm going to go ahead and say, throw my hat in a ring here. I already said it. Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time. Nobody changed the sport the way Michael Jordan did. LeBron James bossed up, and I love the narrative of going back to Cleveland, winning in Miami, and then going back to Cleveland and getting that championship, and then going out to LA, getting a championship during the COVID bubble year of 2020. Michael Jordan, watch The Last Dance. Oh, and I want to finish with, I kind of went out of order here, but I was kind of talking about, again, the players that we're kind of going to get surprised now with name, image, and likeness, and, the transfer portals, and a wide receiver fighting with his coach and then being traded 3 days later. And it got me thinking about some of the famous players through NFL history that were traded. And of course, I was looking more for 2022, but then I was sitting at the house last night watching the Saints and the Cardinals game. And I'm like, so I Google, NFL player trades, and I'm doing a little research, and I'm looking into these players. And then I find it interesting, just like you guys and girls do. You go down that rabbit hole, you go down that Google rabbit hole. 8 historical NFL players who were traded, right? And I thought I'd go over these real quick because it's kind of interesting. One of them I didn't even remember, and maybe you guys did. Eric Dickerson, right? Goes from the Rams to the Colts. Eric Dickerson, not only his first 3 years was he on par to become the greatest running back of all time, and maybe there's a few Eric Dickerson fans out there that would argue that he is. I would argue that Walter Payton is. But Eric Dickerson goes from the Rams to the Colts, and we remember that. And, of course, Randy Moss, of course, worked his way out of Minnesota, goes out to Oakland, of course, playing for the Raiders at the time they were in Oakland, and kind of gets himself ran out of there, and Oakland gets rid of him for like nothing. And, of course, Randy Moss goes back to where? That's right, plays with Tom Brady and those New England Patriots, and had a little bit of success there. I know you guys and girls remember that. I'm going to skip that one. Of course, Antonio Brown, enough said, right? Pittsburgh, Mike Tomlin, Ben Roethlisberger. They get tired of his antics. Of course, Ben Roethlisberger was the alpha male with that Pittsburgh Steelers team, and Antonio Brown gets pushed or moved. Marshall Faulk, right? Here's an interesting tidbit for you. I like this one. Marshall Faulk is with the Colts. And we remember, guys, well, some of us that are older, or oldies, if you will, remember Marshall Faulk as a Colt. Bill Polian decides, Hall of Fame general manager Bill Polian, judger of NFL talent, decides Marshall Faulk, he can get rid of him. We're going to get rid of him. Moves Marshall Faulk to the Rams. And all Marshall Faulk did after he gets to the Rams is 3 times is the NFL Offensive Player of the Year and was the 2000 NFL MVP, of course, with the Rams, Marshall Faulk. And I find that interesting is that there are people that remember Marshall Faulk as a Ram, but don't remember him as a Colt, which is interesting. I got one more for you. I'm saving that one for last. Brett Favre. I mean, of course, they had Aaron Rodgers. They get Aaron Rodgers at 22 there in Green Bay. But remember, Brett Favre was, I'm going to retire. I'm not going to retire. I'm going to retire. I'm not going to retire. Wow. Packer fan. Does that sound familiar? What is it with the water in Green Bay? What is it? Something with the cheese? You kind of get that with Aaron Rodgers. See him struggling in 2022, and a lot of people are like, "Well, he's going to take some ayahuasca, and go off the planet." But Brett Favre, of course, threatened to retire, and finally, of course, the Packers, they had Aaron Rodgers. They had a successor in place. Aaron Rodgers gets traded to the Jets. Who can remember the greatest of all time? Second greatest quarterback of all time, Peter Blake. This one's for you, brother, from Peter Blake from the Sports Web. Joe Montana. Of course, same thing there with the Niners, right? Bill Walsh. They have Steve Young there. They have the successor already with the greatest team in football, the greatest quarterback in football, Joe Montana. They trade him to where, guys and girls? Let me see in the comments. I'll give you a second. That's right, the Kansas City Chiefs. Nobody said anything. The Kansas City Chiefs. And he does nothing but takes him to the playoffs twice in his last 2 years in the league. Good stuff. Second to last one, who forgets 1983 NFL draft? The draft at the Buccaneers, they didn't have a draft pick because we had traded our first-round pick in 83 to move up the year before and get Booker Reese out of Bethune-Cookman after the team had drafted John, I remember the name now, the lineman from Penn State. And, of course, in 83, we let Doug Williams go. We could have been in that draft that had Dan Marino. We could have been in that draft that had Jim Kelly. And we could have been in that draft that number 1 overall, John Elway. And, of course, John Elway and his father was never, there was no way he was going to let his son go play for those Indianapolis Colts. So you remember that John Elway gets traded to the Denver Broncos for like the craziest, like nothing. And it wasn't Jim Irsay. It was actually his father at the time, Bob or Bill Irsay. But yeah, so Jim, sometimes the traffic on the street here gets a little crazy, and so you're talking, da da da, what? But yeah, and here's last but not least. I hope you guys will appreciate this one. This running back was a Ram. I'm gonna give it away by giving you this hint. This running back was a Ram, and as the coach of the Ram, I think it was Rich Brooks at the time. He asked this running back, he's like, I want to move you to fullback, or halfback, not fullback. He wanted to move this running back to halfback. And this running back said, no way. So what did this running back do? They traded this guy to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Anybody have any guesses as to who that is? That's right, Jerome Bettis, the bus. Don't forget, Jerome Bettis started out as a Ram before he gets traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Hall of Famer Jerome Bettis, the bus. So I've already went over an hour. I see Tristan there ready to go home. I'm going to hit it. He's got a game in the morning. I still have family. I got to go visit on Madeira Beach tomorrow. I'm definitely bringing Cup Ray on Sunday morning. I hope you guys aren't too bored and you'll tune in on Sunday. Please share the show. If anything about this show made you laugh, made you cry, will make you cry. If you anything at all find interesting, even if nothing else, to help me build this brand. And I love all y'all. Let me go ahead and pull this up right here. And thanks again to the staff here at World Famous Ferg Sports Bar and Grill out here on Central Avenue, just below 16th Street in the edge there to St. Petersburg. And you guys know how I end every one of these. Everyone needs to know someone cares this weekend. Why don't you be the one to let them know? Have a great evening. We'll see you guys on Sunday.